You're listening to Sox in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, where every show is 30 minutes of good and comes from a basement bar on the south side of Chicago. Pull up a stool, pour a cold one, and join us right now for Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. And belly on up to the 9-foot homemade oak bar. Pour yourself a cold one. My name is Chris. His name is Ed. We're sitting down here in my basement doing Sox in the Basement. It's for fans by fans. It's 30 minutes of Sox, and there's limited things that we can talk about. I got a few things, though, for today's show. I've got a few surprises. We're going to go to the phone lines, too, maybe. I'm so starved for content. Oh, okay. We may play some of the more ridiculous calls that have ever come in to the Sox in the Basement voicemail line.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much where we're at, right? You don't have spring training going on. You don't have any hot stove action going on. You don't have any baseball being discussed in the Major League Baseball arena. All you have are labor squabbles and random drunken phone calls. So, yeah, I think we're good.
Listen, we talked about this on the show maybe a week or so ago, where I pointed out that, like, at some point, I'm just going to start playing the drunk calls, the drunk dials. Like, calls like this one, which came in after I said, be forewarned, we're so low on material because of the lockout, I might start playing your drunk dials. Take a listen.
It's Roy again, White Sox in the Basement. You said you want to start playing all these messages and stuff. Start playing them. I don't care. I don't care if you say I'm drinking out there at 105 boys. I don't care if 1010, 1015. I don't care the 107 part. I don't care the 369er part. I don't care. But y'all gonna need to start getting the head out of your butts and start training and start getting good players. And you need to start building a dynasty. And I like to see that. But you want to sit there and say, well, all these people drinking and stuff. Well, hell, we all stay drunk. Hell, you can't even win a damn game. Can't even win the playoffs or the World Series. Might as well stay drunk. Hell, get a damn decent trade going or even sweet deals. Might as well stay drunk. Might as well stay in the basement and get drunk and stay drunk. And might as well just drink all your booze and whiskey and stuff and stay down there and start talking smack to all y'all down there. Because you don't know how to make any trades. You don't want to make any trades. And you don't want to win World Series titles. Because you suck.
My question is, does he think...
Yeah, me again.
No, don't talk anymore. Does he think... does he think that we're the White Sox? Were you and I getting blamed for no treat activity during a lockout? This little podcast? Yes. That's a special kind of drunk right there. Is that what I heard, Ed?
Yeah, that's what I heard. I what I took out of it was that you and I
right,
don't want to win a World Series, and we don't know how to make a good trade, and that you and I, in particular, need to build a dynasty.
Right. Well, we do.
Which, yeah, I mean, it's true. I don't disagree with anything you said. I hate to inform him that I have really no ability to affect any kind of change in that regard. I'm not even a season ticket holder, quite frankly. So I don't even have a financial stake in the game. I only have ever gotten into partial season tickets. So Jerry's really not going to listen to me. How about you?
No. Listen, this is all our fault, obviously.
Yeah.
The lack of trade activity when the players are locked out not only falls on the team, but it falls on us personally. And I get it. He's angry. He's angry and he's bored because there's no baseball movement. There's nothing else to talk about. He's really drunk. Sounds like he does a lot of it. I would put him somewhere in some southern state. I would venture to say he's either downstate Indiana, Kentucky, or Tennessee. That's where I'm at. He could be a West Virginia listener. My wife has kinfolk out there though, and I don't recognize that accent. That doesn't seem exactly West Virginian.
Here's a little thing, though. Sometimes when people get drunk,
right,
they adopt an accent that does not match any way, shape, or form how it is that they, where they're from geographically, where their family history is from. You sometimes get that where, somebody will just be drinking and then all of a sudden they'll be like, yes, I could go for a spot of tea. If you've got a bit of milk that I could put in that would be quite lovely. You
break into a British accent when you're drinking, huh?
No, I speak fluent Mandarin when I'm drunk.
Okay. Listen, you and that guy and anybody else that wants to start a new career with Family Waterproofing Solutions, first of all, sober up. Do not arrive at their installer job fair as drunk as that guy. Saturday, February the 26th, 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. in Evergreen Park. Find out what they do, why they do it, and the services they provide. If you're changing careers or starting a new one, you can join an award-winning family business that is growing with an excellent benefit package available to you. There's no sign-up necessary. Just bring your valid driver's license and don't drink in advance. Please. Saturday, the 26th of February, go to Family Waterproofing Solutions. Check out all the details, get the location, all that good stuff. FamilyDry.com. All right, so maybe we'll play another random one. I have a bunch of them here. It could all be the same guy. Honest to goodness. I just picked the most recent one because when people leave messages at the website, I just get a list of you got to call, this was the time, and I got a play button, and that's it. So I've got it brought up today whenever we start running out of things to talk about because there's a lockout going on and news concerning the White Sox is few and far between. I am now ready to make good on my threat to play your drunk dials that you leave with Sox in the Basement at soxinthebasement.com. Before we get into any of that, though, a quick note, and I then do want to jump in a little bit into the lockout talk. There was some news at the back end of the week that I've seen some people clumsily try to address. Whether through article or any other way. And I'm going to try to less clumsily address my concern with it. And that is the White Sox came out and are the only team in Major League Baseball that is requiring the booster shot for anybody that's in their minor league system. Now, a couple things you got to take away from that. First of all, they required a booster shot because they required the vaccine to everybody in their minor league system last year. So this isn't news. For virtually everybody in the system, they've already been part of the system. They've already had their vaccination, and they're just saying, stay up to date on your vaccination. That's what they're telling them to do. I don't expect a big pushback on that. People try to make it into a big story. At this point, it's not like they just came up with something new. The only weird thing about it, though, Ed, is because minor leaguers are not part of a union, the major leaguers are not required. Like, they've told us that everybody's vaccinated up here, but when you're not required, you're also not required to actually show something that says that you're vaccinated. So I don't know. Maybe not. They can do it to the minor leagues, though, because they are not union. The only concern that I had about this was a baseball concern. I'm not going to wade into, the pro-vax, the anti-vax, the science. I'm not doing that. Please, I can't handle it this week. Okay. One of the other shows on the Broadcast Basement On Demand Radio Network, the EP podcast, Evergreen Park is where the teacher decided not to put on the mask before the Archdiocese came up with the rule, and there's been like a protest every other day. So that show's already handling all that stuff, and I'm overloaded on it, all right? So we're not letting that bleed into this show. Please, I need my inner sanctum of White Sox talk only. But my only concern, Ed, is that the White Sox policy is that if you don't get vaxxed, and you don't get your boosters, you cannot play anywhere in their organization, but they also won't release you. And you might see something down the line then if you end up with a player or somebody that joins the team or even a draft pick. Imagine that. Somebody gets drafted, you pick the slot indication, and you don't make it clear to them that this is an expectation before they actually sign with the team. And then the guy goes, no, I'm not doing that. And he turns out to be somebody who's like, I'd rather sit out. That could affect you down the line. I don't know if it will. I don't know if it even matters. That was the only thing that stuck out to me. The rest of it is just all noise and fighting and Facebook groups. I'm staying away from that. But that was the only thing. Baseball-wise, what if you ended up with a high-end prospect or somebody that you had in the organization who all of a sudden sat there and said, no, I'm not coming here. I'm not signing that contract because of it. It does limit, although however small it is, the pool that you have to choose from. And you might see a story pop up later. Right now, no story. It's just one of those things that I'm curious. Will there be one later on down the line because of it?
Yeah, it could happen. And it probably will happen at some point where you find out somebody doesn't join the organization, or you do end up with a draft pick who sort of surprises even their agent, by sitting there and saying, I'm going to take a stand here. And again, I'm not getting into whether or not they are right, the White Sox are right. It doesn't really make a difference. It's one of those things where, if you're breaking it down to the team as an employer, the player as an employee, The employers made a policy. The employees are bound to follow it. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. But yeah, if the Sox were to lose draft picks, especially if they were to lose somebody big, or lose, I'm not really worried about them losing a minor league free agent, because how often do those really make a huge difference? But the idea that they could end up forfeiting a draft pick over this it's something I think to monitor and keep an eye on. And you wonder if it's something where they would go back on the policy at some point if they felt like it was hurting them. I though, in that regard, I think you have history in all sports where, a prospect is usually drafted late because the scuttlebutt is they're not going to sign, and you got to blow them away with it or whatever to get them to sign. So in baseball, it does happen where teams end up losing a draft pick because somebody won't do it. In fact, the Mets, I was reading that, Kumar Rocker, who they drafted and then they had questions about his health, he's going to play an independent ball this year to try and get his draft status back.
Right, exactly. And so it's not like it never happens to a draft pick. It just adds another variable that could cause it, and it may never cause it. It's just one of those things that will linger out there, and I guess we'll see. Like how David Sampson, who was on our show, he always goes with that hashtag on Twitter, wait and see, or wait to see.
Yeah.
That's kind of what this is. This is like a wait to see. Will this ever really have an effect on the White Sox? Could, maybe not. We'll see. We'll also see if it's the same drunk guy or a bunch of different drunk guys coming up here, and we'll also talk lockout right here on Sox in the Basement. Sox in the Basement listeners, do the hard work. And if you're a hardworking man or woman on the South Side, you need to be outfitted properly. And that's why you should visit Red Wing Shoes in Evergreen Park, New Lenox, and Geneva. A work boots specialty store that carries sizes from 6 to 16 and feet as wide as 4E. A 115-year-old company that came out of Red Wing, Minnesota. And one of its largest stores in the entire Midwest is in Evergreen Park, Illinois, ever since 1976. When you're on your feet, the footwear is everything. So why not get an expert fitting? They warranty, repair, and offer free conditioning with laces. And they also carry Carhartt work clothing as well. Located at 3347 West 95th Street in Evergreen Park, Illinois, at 208 East Maple Street on Route 30 in New Lenox, or at 1749 South Randall Road in Geneva. Visit them today. You work hard. You've earned it. Red Wing Shoes.
It's me again, White Sox in the Basement. I was watching them trade deals go down that year. When we got Yonder Makata, ain't he supposed to play second base?
I'm sorry, did he just call him Yandir Magata? Is that what he called him?
I thought he said Young and McCarter, and I was trying to figure out which two players he was talking about.
Hold on. I want to see what else he says.
Didn't Rick Maria and Rick Hahn?
Rick Maria and Rick Hahn. I think he meant Renteria. Hold on, I'll keep going.
Oh, yeah, he's another Robinson Cano. Let me put him at second. Well, I ain't never seen him play second since that White Sox picked him up. I ain't never seen him play second.
Played second base all of 2019, right? I'm not losing my mind, right, Ed? He played second. Yohan Moncada or Uranin Murnkurta or whatever he called him. He played second base all of 2019, right?
Yes, he was the White Sox starting second baseman for the entire season. Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I'll keep going.
Base. Yeah. But I have seen his rookie year in college. I've seen his college years.
He did not play college ball, did he? Wasn't he an international draft signing?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. This guy saw him.
I'm going to double check on that because now I'm actually questioning myself because
I'm starting to question reality listening to this guy.
He's a real good second baseman. I think you put Yonder Makata at second. I think he'll have a 9.5 WAR. I think he'll be over Iglesias. He'll be over Tuve. Anybody that plays second base real good, like Robinson Cano and all them, they'll have a high WAR. And I guarantee you put Makata there and you start Makata at second base this year, I'll guarantee you, you'll win some World Series championships. If you go out and get them three players, move Makata to second, and you let Andrew Vaughn, Gavin Sheets, and all them play outfield. You don't need to spend all that money on outfielders. You got decent prospects, play outfield. Got pop in the lineup. You bring Matt in. That give you more pop in the lineup. You bring them two starting pitchers in there. That'll straighten up your starting rotation.
He's got a lot of people he's adding. I count several people being added to the team. This guy's got big plans. I'm going to stop that one.
He really does.
He's got big plans. Have we been able to confirm that Yohan Moncada did not play college ball? Have I lost my mind?
No, he's from Cuba. He was signing out of Cuba.
I thought that. See, I thought that.
Yeah.
But, at some point when you listen to these things.
But then in the back of my head, I'm thinking is he from Texas? And he went to USC? Am I thinking wrong here?
I appreciate that guy listening to my show. I hope he listens to it forever. I don't care how wrong-headed his ideas are. Okay.
Actually, I didn't hear. I mean, he's adding a lot of guys and he's spending a lot of money there that I don't think the Sox would ever spend. But the idea of moving Moncada back to second base because the position is so thin and going out and getting a third baseman, which there are more options available, and using that as sort of this is how we're going to fix our position problem, is a viable option. It's just that we all recall that Yohan Moncada just wasn't all that good at second base.
I love how there was a valid argument in there and that you found it. If you've ever doubted whether or not Ed is actually a lawyer, which he's brought up that he is, right there in the middle of that mess, the attorney found something where he could argue logic from the caller. That is a marketable skill. People should pay you for that.
It has nothing to do with me being a lawyer. It has everything to do with the fact that I due to illness, I couldn't drink for years. I learned how to speak fluent drunk while sober. So
let's get into some of the CBA stuff over the weekend, okay?
Yeah, speaking of not being able to speak correctly while you're sober, let's talk about the CBA.
Right. So this is a collection of different reports about what was proposed and how far apart everybody is. We'll kind of go through it. CBS Sports had a breakdown where they drew from several different sources and tweets and stuff to try to get a good picture of what was going on this weekend, where I think they got a little closer. They say the players were unimpressed. Well, that's a lot better than the players stormed out of the meeting and flipped over a chair. Players are unimpressed. Cool. I'm fine with that. I feel like there's progress. I actually feel after this past weekend that they're going to find a way to start on time. You might get bad baseball and 4-inning starts for the first month of the season, but I think they're trying to get there with a very truncated spring training. I think if they can do that, they're going to go ahead with it because they want your money at the gate and they want to say we never missed a game. I think if it falls in that sweet spot there where they can go with just a couple of weeks of spring training and give you bad baseball in April, Major League Baseball will charge you full price for bad baseball. I guarantee you.
Well, we know they'll charge full price for bad baseball because the Pittsburgh Pirates exist. But that aside, I think it is something where this battle at this point, and I don't really, the issues are what the issues are, and the money is what the money is. And you could break it down. The owners want more control and cheaper players. The players want better pay for less controlled time with their original teams. Fine. You guys have to sort that stuff out, but it's just dollars and cents, and dollars and cents are an easy thing to figure out. What this really is about at this point is the posturing in front of the fans who are increasingly not caring what you think you're winning or losing in terms of public opinion because you're both losers, both sides that is. The idea for the owners that they would have this victory of saying, we were so in control of this situation from the start and we have the players under our thumbs so much that we were able to basically dictate from the time we locked them out to the time that we got them back on our fields so that our fans could watch our players. We didn't miss a game. You get to see your favorite players play because of our hard work. And that's what the owners want to be able to sit there and say in press releases because they don't use Twitter properly. That's where we are with it. And the players, for their part, are trying to say, well, we want to get on the field and play. So if they don't respond favorably to decent offers from the players, we get to call BS on them, right? And say, you said you wanted to play, and yet you're sitting here rejecting offers. So that's fine. They're unimpressed. They're unimpressed by the owner's offer. That's fine. But my question is, who's gonna buckle in the court of public opinion first? Is it the players who say they want to play and are willing to take any reasonable offer, but then have to try and explain why the offers aren't reasonable? Or is it the owners who are in danger of losing money because they're not putting players on the field?
Here's how far apart they are on some of the main points. This is what they want. The idea of increasing the bonus pool for pre-arbitration players from $10 million to $15 million was proposed by Major League Baseball. The Players Association wants $100 million. That's far apart, okay?
That's really far apart,
That's
yes.
really, really far apart, okay? Now, the owners have now proposed increasing the minimum salary to $630,000 or a tiered salary of $615,000 for players with 0 to 1 years of service, $650,000 when it's 1 to 2 years, $725,000 for 2 to 3 years. So the Major League Baseball Players Association, they want $775 at all service time levels. They're closer, but they're still separated.
And I think on that one, I can honestly see the players buckling because they're still getting a raise. And the tiered system, I think, makes a lot of sense in some ways. So I can see the players kind of capitulating on that if maybe they bump up a little bit on each of the, on each one of the tiers. If the owners come back and say, fine, we'll drop an extra 50 to 70 grand on each tier. I think the players just sit there and go, yeah, we're fine on that one. That bonus pool thing, that's an interesting one because the owners envision giving out these bonuses that they're talking about, these pre-arb bonuses in these tiny little chunks like they're stocking stuffers at Christmas or something like that, where it's, or what you're putting in the Easter eggs for the Easter bunny, that to be left out. And instead, the players are sitting there going, no, we want to have this big pool of money because there's 26 to 40 players that we're talking about on every single roster. And we want all of them to potentially get some of this money when they're in this pre-arb state. So you could have a team that has, a rebuild going on where it's mostly young guys who are pre-arb or maybe a few that are really under contract, where what they're hoping for is they're not hoping that each guy is going to end up getting, maybe $100,000 bonus. What they want is the owners to be able to bump a $630,000 salary into like 1.2 if you get a Vlad Guerrero situation. He's a bit of an extreme example, but if you get a guy that really, really performs where the arbitration system isn't going to reward that player for a couple of years, that's what they want. And frankly, if I'm the owners, man, I just do that because you could come up with all sorts of excuses for not giving a guy a performance bonus. All you have to do is go back and read stories about Charlie Comiskey and it's right there for you.
Right. They could mess with it. They could be like, hey, we're sitting you this week because you're young, or we want to save you for the post. There's so many things they can do to manipulate that. And so you're right. I think that that's something they might actually do something similar to, because they'll figure out they can manipulate it a little bit. Double Play Saloon in Blue Island is one of the places to be all season long if you want to check out some White Sox games. Right now, it's a good place to go play in a dart league. It is an absolute dart bar. They also have a Sunday beanbag league. Signups actually ended for that over the weekend, but I'm telling you right now, if you call or text Tommy, my guy over there, and you tell him, hey, can you squeeze me into the beanbag league? He might be able to do it. 773-574-0992. Daily $5 basket lunch specials, $13 Miller and Bud family buckets, and they have temperature soup. When it's cold, whatever the temperature is, that's the cost of soup. And they've got an awful lot of options on the menu, including that delicious soup. Check out their newly remodeled private gaming area, and it's all at 13011 Western Avenue on the island, Blue Island, and that's Double Play Saloon. All right, so let's see. I don't want to get into the competitive balance tax thing because it's essentially a soft salary cap. And what the players want is a higher soft salary cap, and what the owners want is a lower one than what the players want. The owners, all you need to know is what the owners did is that they came up by like $1 million or something like that, or $2 million. It was like, it wasn't much. It was just a token. We'll come up a little bit, but they're still the same amount away from each other that they really were before this weekend. And then here's the other thing that MLB proposed. Teams receiving 2 draft picks if a star prospect finishes in the top 3 in a major awards voting in multiple years as a way to de-incentivize service time manipulation. MLBPA proposed service time bonuses tied to awards voting. So they both are trying to find something there. This is a really interesting ploy. Think about what they're doing here. They're calling the Players Association on the bluff of, we're doing this to make make it more competitive for the fans, right? Isn't that like one of their lines? We want these things because in that way they won't hold guys down. They won't tank. We want these things, but we want it in the forms of bonuses and money. And the owners are saying, no. We'll actually make the teams that do things right benefit by doing things right, but you won't get any more money. And isn't that an interesting ploy right there? Because they're calling their bluff on that. They're saying, well, if you're really concerned about all of this and you really just want things to be more competitive, we'll hand out draft picks to teams that do it the right way. And I think that's a really interesting negotiating ploy. I mean, I catch that. That's almost like when they said it, there was like a look across the table, like find a reason that that's wrong or admit that you just want more money. Like that was interesting to me.
Yeah, that's one where the players are going to have to just sort of admit that what they're really after is once again just getting young guys paid for playing really, really well. They are doing it with the whole service time manipulation ploy, but in reality, they're really just saying it's kind of criminal that somebody who's in a pre-arb state or somebody who's a star prospect, gets held back, even though we can clearly, again, they're going to point to Vlad. And, this guy is, the runaway and runaway MVP candidate. If it's not for Shohei Ohtani, look at how this guy's doing. And the Blue Jays might have held him down to try and gain an extra year of eligibility and things like that. And that would be a shame because look at what a star he is. The reality is they just want that guy to get paid. But yeah, that's one where the owners kind of backed him into a corner, I think. And frankly, if I'm the players and I'm really concerned about service time issues, I do want to see teams basically have the carrot dangled in front of them to get them to bring those players up early, because that is going to last longer than ever telling the owners, by the way, pay us more money.
Hey, White Sox in the basement. This is Roy. I've been seeing some rumors about Oakland Athletics open season on trading, and White Sox can sign them long-term deals. Like I said earlier, I'll say it again. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. You get Chris, Mookie, and Chris and Frankie, and Matt Chapman back. Matt Champion. And
is there a Mookie on the A's? Really?
No, Mookie Betts is a.
I just want to know if there's another Mookie, like Mookie. So I don't know. I was like, which Mookie is he talking about?
I've only known two Mookies, and it's Mookie Betts, who's not on the A's, and Mookie Blaylock, who hasn't played in like 30 years.
He also said Chris. I don't know who that is. Chris is the
Bassett.
most pop. Oh, who?
Chris Bassett.
Oh, okay, thank you. Jeez, I was worried it was me, and I was like, no, I'm not playing.
I'll probably do a trade with Craig Kimbler.
Oh my God, he has children. Did you hear that? There's
Yes.
a child in the background. You didn't hear that?
I heard it, yeah. Wait, what?
There was a small child observing this phone call. Oh my God.
And that's what I would do. I would trade Craig Kimbler, Zach Collins.
He got his
for
name.
Chris,
Bassett,
Frankie,
all right,
Craig Kimbler, and Zach Collins.
And Collins.
I mean, you're getting a top prospect, Zach Collins, a good, decent back catcher, or a first baseman, or a DH.
That's the best part of the entire call. You're getting a top prospect in Zach Collins. Even Zach Collins doesn't think he's a top prospect anymore, does he? Right?
No, he does not.
He doesn't think it anymore. I want this guy as $1,000 guest bounty guest. I want to give him $1,000 if he's interested. I really do. Like, can you imagine after having Liam Hendricks, Jake Berger, David Sampson, we've got a couple of them that we've been talking about today before we get out of here, and Ed and I were talking about before we recorded the show, some other ones that have been suggested to us and who's going to be the next one that comes on, where people can submit people that they have a contact with or that they think they can get on the show, and if that person comes on and is the best guest of the offseason, Elite Benefits of America is giving you $1,000 cash. Could this guy win? Do you think this guy can beat out Berger or Hendricks or Sampson or anybody else?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.